Good evening. Welcome to another conversation at the table. I am Chad Bresson, the lead church planter at the table of Los Fresnos. So we're fast approaching the end of another week. We've had another week of being back to business, but not back to business as usual. I am looking forward to this weekend. I hope you are too. I'm excited for Sunday. Sunday, you're invited to my driveway here in Los Fresnos on 7th Street. We're going to spend some time in our driveway on Sunday morning. We're going to chat a little bit. We're just going to catch up with each other. We're going to talk about how things have been for each of us. We're going to talk about things that are going on at the table, things that are going on in our city. It's going to be a good time. So I'm looking forward to that. Bring your own chair. Bring your own drink. We're going to do things the safe way. Bring a mask. We'll be wearing masks. We're not going to be hugging and kissing. We're going to play it safe, but we're going to have a conversation. We're going to see each other. That's going to be great. I can't wait to see you. So you are invited. I can't wait for Sunday, 10:30, right here in my driveway. We are having an online service this weekend, and that will also be going on at 10:30. But for those of you that want a little bit of FaceTime, want a little bit of chat time, we're going to do that on Sunday right here. We're going to continue to do online church, and I'm now, talking about this online church. We're going to continue to do it again on Sunday, and then the following Sunday, we're going to continue this for a while, even before, even after we start meeting again regularly, but certainly up until that point. And I'm going to wade into some water here. It's going to get a little personal, probably for some of you, and maybe even me too. We dealt with this a few weeks ago, but we're going to talk a little bit about it again tonight because I've heard it again even in the past week or so. And the question is whether or not what we do on Sunday online is really church. And the answer is yes. It's not the optimum, but the answer is yes. Now, we do lose some things online. We don't have it, what I call physicality. We don't have the physicality. We lose touch. We can't touch when we're online. We can't touch each other. We lose the sense of smell, obviously. And if you've been at the table, you can't smell the coffee when you're online. Taste is temporarily lost. We've been doing some drive-through communion on Thursdays. But when we gather on Sundays online, our taste has been lost for the moment. So we lose that part of the physicality. At the same time, I'm going to grab this here for an object lesson. At the same time, when we open this, Jesus meets us in his word. He continues to forgive us of our sins. He continues to give us life. All that to say, there is not only church on Sunday, because again, he meets us and feeds us and forgives us. He does it all through the proclaimed word. We're doing that online. All that to say, not only is he doing that for us online, here's where it kind of gets personal. If you're not doing it online, then you're missing Jesus on Sundays. In fact, if you're not availing yourself of online church, if you're not taking advantage of the fact that there is online church, and it's not just the table, it's not just me, whether or not it's Dale or Daniel or Rick or Roberto or Stephen or Bob or Chris, any one of us here in town. If you're not taking advantage of the online church, then you are missing Jesus in a unique way on Sunday. You're not hearing from him in his word. In fact, if you haven't been doing this since quarantine began, again, not just me, but with Daniel, Dale, and the others, if you're not doing this, and if you haven't been doing this since the quarantine began, I guarantee you that your spiritual life is dying on the vine, because you need to feed from Jesus on a weekly basis, and it should be done in community. The word preached, even when it's online, still gives life. It is still living water. It is still bread from heaven. And so it's still happening, even though we're meeting in the ones and zeros of the internet. It's still happening. He is still giving of himself to us. Jesus is online through his word, through what's taking place. So Jesus' word is Jesus' word, regardless of how we are gathering. The gathering's still a gathering, even though we're gathering online. So I've got there's a passage we're going to go to. And it's one of my all-time favorite passages. If somebody asks me, what passage do you go to when you are defining church? This is the passage I come to. But as we've been meeting online over the past few weeks, and as I consider what church means, and as we consider, not just me, as we consider what church means, I keep coming back to this passage. Because it is as applicable online as it is when we meet. And again, that's not saying that online has all the same qualities and has all the same aspects. It is not optimum. I get that. I understand that. But it's not an either or here. It isn't. Again, because of who Jesus is for us in his word, a word that we access and we hear verbally and we see online. So, our reading tonight is from Hebrews 10. It's where I go to when I want to define church. We're going to begin with verse 19. Therefore, brothers and sisters, since we have boldness to enter the sanctuary through the blood of Jesus, he has inaugurated for us a new and living way through the curtain and through his flesh, since we have a great high priest over the house of God. Again, that's a mouthful. That is all part of the introduction going into what we're going to talk about. But it's all set up as this is the church he's talking about in Hebrews. He is talking to them. It is the sanctuary. So he has inaugurated for us a new and living way through the curtain. Since we have a great high priest over the house of God, there's that phrase, talking about the church, talking about the local church here in Hebrews. All right, since he's done all that, since we have a great high priest over the house of God, let us, here's the first one, let us draw near. Let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience and our bodies washed in pure water. And then let us hold on to the confession of our hope without wavering, since he who promised is faithful. Let us watch out for one another to provoke love and good works, not neglecting to gather together as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging each other, and all the more as you see the day approaching. So, the main piece and the main part of this passage, as it unpacks, what does it mean for this group that is being written to here? What does it mean for them to be the house of God? That's in verse 21. What does it mean for a group of people who are gathering together to be the house of God? And there's three things that show up here. The first is, let us draw near. We're drawing near with a true heart. We're drawing near with our hearts sprinkled clean. We're drawing near with our bodies. And note the plurality. It's not me. It's not let I draw near. Let me draw near. No, it's let us draw near. There's a plurality here. And this isn't talking about getting close to God as we read our Bibles. I know that belongs in a Mythbuster thing, and this verse is quoted a lot. We just need to get near to God, close to God. No, he's talking about in the context of 19 through 21, verses 19 through 21, this sanctuary, this house of God. He's using tabernacle language. To draw near is to go into the Holy of Holies, and the entire church is now doing that as it gathers. Let us draw near to God. Again, not in the sense of individual prayer, but in corporate worship, in corporate prayer. Drawing near to the God meant going into the Holy of Holies. And now that Christ has rent the veil in two, we now have access to that Holy of Holies as a group together. So let us draw near. The second thing is, let us hold fast. Again, plural form. Let us hold fast to the confession of our hope. So when we're gathering together, when we're together, we confess those things that are part of our faith. We confess our faith together. The confession of the church's faith is a group effort. And again, we can do this online. Not only can we draw near to Jesus online, come into his presence in the Holy of Holies online, we can hold fast to our confession online. And you're going to hear that Sunday as we confess the Apostles' Creed. It doesn't have to be the Apostles' Creed. It can be any number of things that we are confessing as we confess our faith in Jesus who died for us and rose for us, as we confess together the gospel. And then the last one is let us watch out. I think some of the older versions talk about let us consider. Let us watch out. It's in the third command here. And it flows out of our confidence as we enter the Holy of Holies, as we enter into Christ's presence himself, as we gather. And as we confess our faith, we watch out for each other in provoking each other to love and good works. We don't get together for the love and good works. Watch the phrasing there. It's we watch out for each other. We spur one another on for love and good works out there. All right? And that can happen and does happen online. So when we have done these three things, and when we're doing these three things online, we are gathering as a church. We draw near, we hold fast, and we watch out for each other online. It still happens. It's still happening. It's not optimum, but it's still happening. It's still church. And someone says, well, it's just not the same. Well, in some respects, true. Again, we've already mentioned you don't have the physicality. But in these respects, and what Jesus is doing for us in his word, when we gather together online, it is the same. It's still church. And if we're neglecting, that's the bottom piece, right? Probably the most familiar piece of this whole thing is neglecting to gather. And when we're neglecting to meet online, then these three things aren't happening. We're not practicing and participating in the sanctuary. Christ dwelling among us when we're not doing that. Even in the ones and zeros of the internet. We still need to do it. We still need to gather, even if it's not optimum. So that's my encouragement for you, that pick a place. I invite you to come to the table. But if it's not the table, then someplace. Pick a place. Allow Jesus to feed you living water. Allow him to feed you his bread from heaven online on Sunday. And I encourage you, find a spot. Find some place where you can sit down and gather with others. Even as the timing is off, has been displaced, and even as we have physically have been displaced. That's our conversation for the table tonight and this evening. Hope you've had a great week. Hope you have a great weekend. We're going to be back here tomorrow. We've got a Mythbuster. This Mythbuster tomorrow comes from Philippians 4. And you'll never guess which verse we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Because, again, we're looking at verses that are being misused during the quarantine, during the coronavirus threat. And one of those is Philippians chapter 4. And there's a verse there we're going to look at. And then, of course, Sunday online, right here on Facebook and on YouTube. And again, if you can, I encourage you, if you want to, show up. Bring your chair, bring your mask. We're going to have a chat in my driveway, 10:30 on Sunday. So, love to hear from you. If you have your comments, leave them here in the comment section. Until then, please be safe, be healthy, be at home as much as possible, but also be connected. Be connected. We are loved by Jesus for the love of Los Fresnos.